If typing is so beneficial and it helps students get better grades, why do so few students touch type? I'm Caroline Bateman, and before I answer that question, I want to point out that this is one in a series of videos that are designed to equip parents and teachers to make informed decisions about teaching touch typing. Truthfully, it alarms me how few students can proficiently touch type, and therefore how few students can take advantage of all the learning tools and advantages of typing rather than handwriting work. Before I go into the reasons why, I first want to share with you 3 indisputable facts. Fact 1. Educational psychologists recommend students learn to type. Why? Because it helps them improve their grades, because they can take advantage of great learning tools. Fact 2. Many free or reasonably priced solutions to teach yourself to type are widely available. Fact 3. Most students in schools cannot touch type. To me, this does not add up. You can improve grades. Now, I've said Ed Sykes recommend for students that don't have learning difficulties, they too can take advantage of all the learning tools if they touch type. Learning can be free, and yet most students are not taking advantage of it. And in this video, I really want to explore the reasons why. Now, I don't consider myself the font of all knowledge. I'm just going to speak from my own experience. And in this video, I'm not only going to explain why, but I'm actually going to show you solutions you can put in place to rectify the situation so students can learn this vital life skill and go on to get better grades. So here are the reasons why as I see it. First of all, people just do not understand the many benefits that are available to students that type. Now, if schools don't understand it, they cannot pass this information on to parents and students. Truthfully, most schools don't teach it. So you think, well, if it was important, if it was beneficial, the school would organise it. And some schools do either buy packages or create users for the free packages, but even though they make it available, they don't really teach the fundamentals right. So they might allow students to learn on the premises, but very rarely do schools teach the fundamentals right. And because of this, it takes an awfully long time and students just give up. They've just become demotivated because they don't see progress and they cannot see the point. Another reason why is many teenagers wrongly believe they can type. They spend many hours in front of a screen and they type quickly, so they assume that they can touch type when in actual fact they can't. And truthfully, learning to touch type is boring and time consuming. I'm always very honest about this with my students. If you just practice once a week, it turns into a ridiculously slow torture and most students give up. You know, young people aren't into deferred gratification. They have to understand the benefits and they have to see progress to make it worthwhile putting in the effort. Supervision is absolutely essential. When I started to teach touch typing, this is what I did. I just did it alongside doing intervention packages with students and maths packages that would help dyslexic students, and I also taught them to touch type, and I really just put them in front of a self-teach program and hope they get on with it once a week. And I've learned that this just isn't effective, and over the years it's morphed into something more like this. I decided to start teaching remotely before the pandemic because I could see the benefits of having a dedicated webcam on every student's fingers, so I could always check that they had the fingers in the right place and that they were touch typing correctly. Now, I've already said that a lot of students believe they can touch type, that typing fast is not touch typing. Touch typing is literally typing by touch. It uses unconscious muscle memory. And because of that, the conscious is free to focus on the content rather than how to get it on the paper. So what do I do if I come across a student that thinks they can touch type? Well, I set them a 1-minute time test. And first of all, I get them to do it the way they would normally type, and secondly, I get them to do it without looking at the keyboard. I explain the test I used and why in this video. When I observe students doing the test, I know straight away if they're touch typing or not. One of the reasons I ask them to do the second test is so they can understand if they're touch typing and how much it affects them when they don't look at the keyboard. Now, I get asked two questions all the time. First of all, how fast is fast enough for a student to be able to type in exams? Because I want to keep all the videos in this series short, I'm not going to go into detail here, but I will refer you to another video which answers the question, how fast is fast enough? And the second question I'm always asked is, why on earth can students not look at the keyboard? You know, if it helps them, why not allow them to? That's a very good question, and I cover that in another video which looks at the advantages of touch typing over regular typing. I want to make you aware that some students will struggle with touch typing. Almost every student that comes to me has a learning difference, be it dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyspraxia, or just has trouble with handwriting. It's very hard for me to predict before I introduce them to touch typing who will and who won't take to it. Some students, despite having a profile that makes it look like they will never take to touch typing, are brilliant, and others who have a fast handwriting speed and a profile that makes it look like they'll be good at touch typing are very average. But it's still worthwhile learning to touch type because of all the benefits that come with it. But some students, their brains are not wired for them to learn to touch type, and I explain that it doesn't mean that they're less intelligent or less capable. I equate it with singing. Some people are good at it and others aren't, and that's just the way it is. But I have another video that helps know what to do if a student struggles with typing, so they can try other methods like adaptive typing rather than touch typing. Because I find it really hard to predict who is going to take to typing and who won't, I start all my students trying to touch type first. And the reason for that is, if they are a poor speller, there are enormous benefits in learning to touch type. And given that almost every student that comes to me is a poor speller, they see the value when I do a particular demonstration. And again, to keep this video short, I won't do that here, but I will refer you to another video where I look at the advantages of touch typing over sight typing. I want to finish off by giving you some tips for success, as it would be too negative to point out all the reasons why without giving any solutions. So here goes. You must schedule any typing courses when students have time to practice. If they have a full working day at school, then they're going to clubs and they've got homework, they won't have time to do practice. So I always schedule my courses either at the end of the school term or at the beginning of holidays, so students have time to practice. Don't prolong the agony. I am not into year-long courses once a week. I think a short, sharp shock is far more beneficial and students learn quicker. Students must understand the benefits, otherwise it's hard to have the intrinsic motivation that will help them to do the necessary practice. I use many typing solutions because it is dull, it is boring, and so I fast track students through different typing solutions, and there are so many great solutions that I think that's a good thing to do. I also think it's very, very important to measure progress, because as long as students practice, they do progress really quickly, and when they see their progress, it's worthwhile to continue practicing. Use fun games. There are so many great games available, and I also use competition where students play games against one another. For this reason, I much prefer teaching students to type within a class or a group rather than on their own. I can teach touch typing in one-to-one consultation, but the fun of the competition really does spur them on to achieve more quicker, and that's why I recommend going on typing courses. But it's very, very important not to demotivate students that find it more difficult to learn to type, so that has to be managed. If you found this or any of the videos in this series helpful, please do give them a thumbs up. The Achieve Now YouTube channel is all about helping learners achieve their true potential, and typing is just one of the tools that helps us do this. If you're interested in finding out how to get better grades, then subscribe to the channel and then hit the bell button, and you'll be informed when I create new videos. Thanks for watching.